Welcome everybody. Today, July the 7th, 2025. You joined the Kubeflow Model Registry bi-weekly call. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded for those one in presence and for those of you who will see this on YouTube. Don't hesitate to join us on this bi-weekly call. This meeting, as every meeting in the Kubeflow community, it adheres to the CNCF code of conduct that you can find the links in the meeting agenda as well. So with that, we have a few items that we wanted to run through today. So I've noted here that Alessia and Chanakia wants to give a status update on the MLMD remover feature. And so I don't know who wants to start. Alessio, I guess, do you start with the introduction?
Yeah, thank you, Matteo. So what the status update on MMD removal feature? We finally released the feature in the latest release, the 0220. So you can finally try it on your clusters and see if everything is working. There should be no user intervention, so everything should be going smoothly from the previous version to the latest one. And yeah, in the next release, we will also remove everything from MMD from our repository. So that will be a breaking change, because it will be not possible anymore to run with the flags for MMD. And yeah, this is the PR 1267. So take a look, because it's a really important PR. And yeah, there is also a work from Chanakia. He's working on the Postgres support feature for this new data store. He already made all the migration and the base logic that it's needed. The only thing that is missing right now is to merge the PR for the SSL TLS support for it. So yeah, Shanaga, if you want to show a small demo. Yeah, before that, there is Ramesh.
Hey, Alessio, would you mind going over what would be the breaking changes that is introduced? You said there are some breaking changes, maybe for the community to not go through the whole PR, but just highlight what would be the breaking changes that you are introducing.
Yeah,
and as well as maybe I don't know whether it affects the UI folks here or not. Any others that would be interesting to see. If somebody has a deployment, what they need to be looking out for.
Okay. So the breaking change is only for users that want to force the use of MMD in the manifests. So in this PR, I removed the possibility to have an explicit type choice to have MMD instead of our new embed MD data store. So this PR, I remove from the manifest the data store type MMD. This is the breaking change. And I don't think there is anything that the dashboard or whoever is consuming our model registry should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just if you are coming from earlier manifests, you have to manually change to the new arguments. But it should be automatic if you are just installing Kubeflow, because we are deploying from scratch the new pods and deployments. So no real.
So if somebody were to go directly, if somebody were using the gRPC API directly to the MLMD, that would be a breaking change. But if you're not using the gRPC API before, then it shouldn't happen.
Yes.
Simple as that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that confirmation. Dheeraj?
Yeah. Let's say if the deployment name is the same, shouldn't it auto migrate? When I
Yeah, it
apply the
should
new
be.
manifest?
I tried. Yeah, I tried locally to have the previous and new version, and yeah, it should just
Okay.
apply the new deployment.
Yeah, just confirming. Great. Thanks.
No problem.
So Chanakya, it's back to you. If you want also to share the screen, please don't hesitate to take any screen share.
Yes, thank you. So let me try to present. All right. Can you see my screen?
We can.
All right. So here I have a Docker Compose file to spin up two services. One is for Postgres with certain information, so the user, password, and the DB name. And then I have another one to start up the model registry image. Here, as Alicia said, here you specify the data store type as embeddMD. And here I have the database type as Postgres, and we give the DSN showing all the information to connect to this. And I have it running on the port 8080. So if I start up this Docker Compose, it starts up the Postgres first, and then in a bit we should see model registry startup. Yes, so here we can see that model registry was able to successfully connect to the Postgres database and then run all the migrations, and it's been connected. So now let's test out the API requests. So first we can try to register a model. So we just make a post request and we include the information such as the name, the description, the external ID, and state. So if we run this, we now have successfully registered the model. Now to view the models, view the registered models, we can run, oops, a second. Yeah, we just go to the registered models here. And then if I do this, then we can see that this model has been registered. We can also do, it also supports different page sizes, and like you can request different stuff like that. Here, the one important thing to see is the ID. This ID is automatically generated. Now, if you want to add a version to the specific model, we can do so using this command or this API request. Here we specify the model ID. So in this case, it would be 1. And that has successfully created the version for this model. And again, to request the model, the version, we use this API request and then specify the version, the model external ID. And here we get the version for that model. That is it. Any questions?
Not from my side, but thank you, Chanakya. I think this highlight that sort of like the understanding is that the REST API that we've been publishing for Model Registry stays the same. So we have a scenario, and transparently before there was MySQL behind the scene running through MLMD, and now it's sort of like behind the scene as you demonstrated with the Docker Compose. And you actually have behind the scene PostgreSQL. So I think that is a great scenario as well. And maybe we can invite people to sort of like to follow up on your PRs and use the Model Registry Python client as well to exercise even more scenarios and see that everything flows naturally. So thank you for the demo, Chanakya. Much appreciated. I don't know if others have other comments as well to add.
One question I had, Matteo or Chanakya, is whether the scripts have been, you have scripts for the deployment into Cube or Kind to Chanakya?
Not currently. It doesn't, like, the default is MySQL, so we just have for that, but for Postgres, there's nothing as of right now.
Yeah, that may be the logical next step. I would I would suggest to provide a option at the time of running my manifest, ability to select that.
Yeah, maybe eventually times as this evolves, once the Kubeflow manifests that we have in our repo are updated, then as well we can document this one in the instructions that we have both in our repos and on the website. So I think I agree this is a natural follow-up.
Yeah, otherwise I don't see people coming looking at your Docker Compose. They probably will install the manifest and it puts in the MySQL, and they could probably keep using that happily and never know about it.
Yeah.
That a Postgres incarnation is available.
Yeah, Neeraj, I see you have raised that.
Yeah, so that's just a matter of like adding another manifest for Postgres, right?
Right.
So-
We have one, we just need to make sure that is up to date.
Yeah. Yeah, we have one for the old MLMD one, right? But we need one for the secure Postgres connection as well that Chanakya worked on. Because we want to promote secure connections to databases by default, wherever we can. And update the documentation as well. Right.
Say that again, Dheeraj, last word.
And we'll have to update documentation as well for
Yeah.
manifest, the
Right.
Postgres manifest. Right? Are we thinking about promoting Postgres more upstream, or I don't know how people feel about it based on our experience with MySQL? One thing I've noticed with MySQL is, the startup is a little longer. Postgres starts much faster.
We've been burned with this native password thing many times.
Well, yeah.
And
Well,
the
sorry,
plus
go ahead.
the Docker pool ones, right? They're not using the. I know we fixed it with the GSCR repo on that one, but those are the two big issues. I just
With MySQL, right?
I've seen the community users having trouble. With the MySQL.
Yeah, but with let's use work.
Community, but
Right.
it is up to me. I would have said that. But let's go Postgres. But
Yeah. I mean, that's how.
Right?
That's how we started the original Model Registry project, right? Back in the day, we started with PostgreSQL, but with Alessia's work and the direct connection to MySQL, the security plugin should not be an issue anymore, right, Alessia?
Yeah, there is a PR open that removes the plugin.
Yeah. So that problem goes away, but the database startup is still sort of an issue because the first time it starts, it goes through like an init thing. So there are like two processes that run in MySQL. PostgreSQL. That's why actually in some kind tests and stuff, I think we were still using PostgreSQL by default, if I remember correctly. It just runs much faster.
Yeah.
But that's for the community to decide. It's an option now.
What would you suggest, Matthew? What kind of a course we can take to advise or upgrade here in terms of, if at all we want to go from MySQL?
My advice is that first we need people to migrate using MySQL, keeping that as the default. Because if we sort of like at a whole so that if into like 2 releases, we are both like changing the MLND removal and sort of like changing to Postgres, things will not be clear. And regardless of how breaking the change we make, we will need to provide like a script jobs that takes the data from MySQL and put it in Postgres, potentially as well, or at least instruction on how to do it. Not necessarily that it must be automated, but at least we must provide some instruction. My recommendation would be, let's consider that as the way to go when we switch to PostgreSQL from MySQL. That in that case will not be considered a breaking change. So like, I see it that way, if you ask me. Alessio.
Yeah, also I think if we want to have an official support to Postgres, we have to introduce end-to-end tests and everything related to that database.
That currently we are not doing upstream. I mean, we can start to introduce them in parallel and then migrate to them.
Yeah, maybe we need to capture that as an action item for us to, manifest is one, looks like, and end-to-end test is another, documentation is third, and what else you said? Actually, the upgradable scripts.
Yeah, guidance on how the admin can make that switch.
And how to switch. Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is that today the sort of like the instruction to install the manifest are being explicit that DB is like MySQL. So it means that for the manifest installation, one day we can say, hey, look, the instruction has been updated to point to using PostgreSQL. If you are having already an old version, you can continue to use the MySQL using those manifests that are still be there, and you can migrate the data from from MySQL to Postgres following these instructions. This could be a realistic way. To me, actually, the most pressing item is that given, again, what Alessio and Chanakya presented, to me, the only thing that I can realize is that since this is like a breaking change for people that sort of like maybe have used things that we didn't document, but that was there. I think that the question that we should open to the community is like, if this warrants making the move from version 02X to version 030 for Model Registry. So that's the question that I have for Alessio, Chanakia, and all the others. It's like, this is an opportunity to consider as we are removing the MLMD completely.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Agree.
Dheeraj, do you have some perspective on this one too?
Yeah. I think there might actually be a ticket still hanging around from back in the day about export import, right? So yeah, database migration and all those. Tickets need to be created if they don't really exist.
Yeah, no, I was more about the versioning going from 0 to X that we are today. We are at 0 to 20 to 030.
Yeah. Now that we have, first class component, we could go to 1.0. There's also the REST API version. We still, I think, on V1 Alpha. Yeah, we could go to V1 there as well. But that would mean breaking changes to the client and a bunch of other things. So yeah, it's a big change that we need to coordinate.
Yeah, that will be a further out. Frankly, I was thinking more from going through from 0 to X to 030. So to sort of a signal.
Oh, still stay on pre-release. Yeah, I'm wondering, what the Kubeflow community policy is on that, right? Like, if they're saying, oh, Model Registry is a first-class component now, then doesn't that automatically mean that we can't use 0 dot anymore, right? You can't claim to be a in development component.
But other components are in beta, so it's like the versioning scheme is not necessarily the Kubeflow support policy.
The community doesn't enforce anything. Okay.
I think maybe we can capture an item in the Kubeflow 1.11 call you were showing there before, roadmap one, to see. At the end of it, are we comfortable comfortable calling 1.0, right?
Yeah. But folks, let me try to be a bit more on spot. I haven't raised the point, should we call it 1.0? I've raised the point, should we signal with 030?
Yeah,
which
that's one for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no, yeah. That's fine. But potentially we could, like on the API side, we could also do beta, right? Because we are much further along than alpha. But is there? The question I was raising is there a requirement in Kubeflow community that says, oh, if you're a first class supported component, then you should not be using 0 dot versions or beta versions. So
the only thing that could be worthy to consider is to, once we are happy with the full MLMD removal, whether to increase the support level from alpha to beta, regardless of which version number do we use.
Yeah.
That is much more pressing. That sort of like
Yeah.
that. So this is something that we can raise to the Kubeflow community as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to take
Yeah, both,
that one up,
yeah.
Matthew? Because that seems like a right. I mean, because I think for MLMD we've been backtracking for so long, so maybe that's a good advancement.
And that's fair. I can start the discussion with the KSC and see what they think about it. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you again, Alessio Chanakya, and especially Chanakya for the demo. Always good to have live demos as well. I don't know if Alessio Chanakya, do you have any other item that you wanted to wrap up or that speaks to the item?
I don't think so, if Alessio doesn't.
No, nothing from my side. Just good job, Chanakya.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. All right, moving on to the next item in the agenda. Just let me give a shout out to Federico, who helped to complement one of the last requirement for the badge. So this has been going for a few of the previous Kubeflow biweekly meeting. So now for what it impacts for the community, I would say is two things. First of all, is that we have a fuzzer that also runs against the REST API. So that is very helpful to keep the good coverage and increase coverage with the testing. So actually, I think that Federico with Alessio have worked hard to fix some small, I would say, minor points that have been incorporated. And then as well, this impacts the community because this is now means that if you go to the badge, we can see that we have the full sort of like the badge passing. In some screen, actually, this badge still looks like yellow, but I think it's a matter of some local caching times. So this is also one of the requirements that we have for graduation. So we can move on to the next item as we will follow through. I know that the Kubeflow community is working for the GTR documents and a little more tasks. So there will be potentially more to come as we will track it. And so that is the update for this item. For the next one, I think that Paul wants to give some update for the model catalog.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update on the model catalog, just where it's at. So we've been focused on implementing the static catalog endpoints. I think we're just about done with that. I hope to get the rest of it in by the end of the week. It might drag on a little after that, but it shouldn't be too much longer after that. And then we'll switch over to implementing the other catalog sources. So not a huge update, just wanted to keep everybody abreast of where we're at.
Maybe Julia, can you comment on what's looking from your side in terms of to bring the model catalog UI to the community?
Yeah, so it's definitely on the plan because we have the work that needs to be done around the filters and the APIs, but it does look like the storage layer will be, and connection types will be the first thing that we will be working on.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Lucas to identify what code needs to be brought upstream for us to support that. And that's going to be done this sprint, so that the next sprint we will start actually migrating that for us. So the model catalog will be probably next in line after this, because we will be bringing the model catalog code as well upstream.
All right. Thank you for that update, Julia. Appreciate that.
All right, many thanks, both of you, both Paul and Julian. Thank you so much. So I see our next item here from Dheeraj and Sine about update on experiment tracking. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, we just wanted to update, that we've been working on a POC internally within Red Hat, but those features are, we are planning on contributing them to the community. So we have, got a design for experiment and runs tracking, along with associated artifacts that Model Registry can also track for metrics and parameters, and even data sets. So that was one part. The other part that Sydney worked on was the client. Sydney, do you want to say anything about it? Is Sydney on the call?
Yep. Hello.
We can barely
It's
hear
kind
you.
of faint. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
A little better, try now.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the client, I've been tracking the changes that the DH has been working on for the backend and implementing them in the Model Registry client to do the experiment runs tracking. And we have support for mostly all at this point of the backend in the client, and even support for nested runs and a couple other features that make it native to Model Registry.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh.
And besides that, besides the API and the Model Registry client, we've also been working on an MLflow SDK plugin. So MLflow SDK is actually pluggable and supports third-party plugins so that they can integrate, MLflow can integrate with various kinds of stores from other providers. So they've done that for other model registries from cloud providers like Vertex AI, and I think one from AWS as well. So we've done a little POC and proved that we can do the same thing for model registry, so that you can actually use MLflow public API and SDK to create experiments, runs, and so on, and log them into the model registry as the tracking store. And you can even use the MLflow UI to a large extent to see the contents of model registry experiments and runs, and even artifact data and so on. So yeah, it's really exciting stuff. We'll contribute some PRs for the work that we have started, and share the links to the 2 tickets, the 2 issues that also have links to some of this POC work that we have done in the last couple of weeks. So any feedback there would be greatly appreciated.
What I would suggest, Dheeraj, is to probably do like a 5 or a 10-minute presentation on how you guys are bringing in the MLflow as the, how we are bringing Model Registry as a plugin into MLflow, and able to show, maybe a small demo would be great for the community. Who be
I'll put a, that's a good idea, Ramesh. I'll create a video and share that. In addition to this, actually, I forgot to mention, we also work closely with the pipelines team, and we have been able to test integration with pipelines as well. So pipeline steps were actually registered as experiments and runs in Model Registry using the MLflow client, which was really super cool to see. And there are also lots of enhancements we can do on the dashboard side to visualize all of this huge amount of data that we are going to be adding to the model
Yeah.
registry.
Yeah, couple things. Yeah, I would say, yeah, if you do a demo, maybe submit as somewhat of a documentation, like write material. If that makes sense into our community. How people can come and use it. But if you want to start out with a community demo, I think that suffices. But if you think that you are at a state to become more part of the model registry, I would like to understand a little bit more. Maybe your issue can go into the architecture and in the plugin mechanism a little bit to explain how you guys are designing this. Then we can fold it as a feature into the model registry itself. How we're going to deploy this automatically. Then we can probably set up a community page on how somebody can utilize this.
Yeah.
Right, because it's not the default way. Somebody is doing this. They have to. I'm assuming there are couple extra steps someone needs to do. So walking them through a good guided example would be great. But we don't. I mean, I'm sure there is a lot more work you guys need to do to get there. But just a high level concept wise to get the ball rolling, so that others who are interested in the community to contribute to that, they can come in and reach out to you and Sydney there. That would be
on the backend side, so just adding new resources and implementation for those resources. So we didn't really add like a whole lot of behavior per se, because of the way model registry, was designed to be a framework from the start. So that worked out really well. Design and architecture kind of proved itself through this exercise. So even though we added a bunch of new resources, they're just new types of resources that we are adding. On the plugin side, the mechanism is quite simple. So I'll share that, in the document, so that people have an idea about what we are offering, and they can provide comment and feedback.
Yeah, this bi-weekly call is also a good opportunity to showcase the work done in
demo,
PRs. Indeed, it's like we can take as many time as we want. It's like if it is a short or a longer demo, we can accommodate. I do recall that, for example, we used this venue for some of the dashboard work previously, so that we had the opportunity to sort of like have some slowly paced things more than sort of like a quick demo video. But as you prefer, is like there is the possibility to do more. If you can indeed like as well have documentation as part of that, I think that is going to be great, because people checking it out. And I agree with you. It's like for the backend work is addition to the domain and the logical model. So with that explain that one should be pretty quick. I agree with you. For the plugin, sort of like we can take it and people can see videos with your descriptions, in the descriptions. I think it could be a great walkthrough to understand better, more than just looking at the document. Super appreciated if you want to plan it in. And they don't have to be the same call, so it's like we can plan ahead.
Matthew, maybe a good challenge for us, as from the community, you've been hearing a little bit more on the local development side aspect of it, right? Maybe, can we see also how we can utilize their work to improve that process too, right? Because it seems like there are a lot of people use MLflow as a local development environment. That's one of the strengths of it too, right? How we can provide there, maybe if you can guide. As I know I've seen a couple PRs from you in terms of improving the local development. Maybe if you can think in that angle too, and we can bring it in more. That would be super appreciated.
I think that the question is like, to me, is like that these are all containerized applications. So to me, that we need to make a distinction that not necessarily, I mean, to me, the fair point that we should highlight is that Kubeflow Model Registry is a cloud native application. So it means that it natural fits with a Kubernetes environment and platform, but you don't have to have a Kubernetes cluster to use Model Registry. We have the container image. Even Chanakia earlier today just shown a way with the Docker Compose, which is one way to run containerized app, and there are many others. So I think that the question that we needed to come to a point is, what do we want to propose for a local experience? Because to me, it can be very well be, we have the container images. We've been speaking with somebody from the dashboard as well, whether we can include in this Docker Compose, which I think should be doable, as well the UI. So that's sort of like you start, and then we leverage a lot of the options. If we want to go for indeed like a process-oriented setup, then it means that we will need to do a lot of plumbing for our own execution and management of process. So there are pros and cons to be evaluated for all the solutions.
This request is mostly coming from the pipeline stream, to be honest, for the local development. Maybe we need to invite them into one of the community meetings and see, or we need to go into their community meetings and see how what's their needs are. And obviously by removing the MLMD right now, we are disconnected from that team right now. Right, we are not directly supporting their experimentation previously with the MLMD side of it. So hopefully, they will pick up this new experiment tracking API. And I see Dheeraj said that he's already working with some folks there. But maybe in close conjunction with them, we can make this one a top class component. Yeah, Dheeraj.
Yeah, the local deployment, just being able to stand up Model Registry locally on your laptop is a requirement coming from, this path that we have gone down on, right, with MLflow plugin, because now we are going to be, compared with deployment models from MLflow. And MLflow has, such a huge industry adoption and low barrier of entry because of their ability to, just start locally, right? So that's going to be like the immediate comparison we are going to run into, right? Like if we say, oh, we support the SDK and you can do experiments and runs, then they're going to say, why do I have to have a whole, Kubernetes cluster to run Model Registry instance just so that I can, locally run my experiments and runs, but remotely log to Model Registry. So, having the ability to run Model Registry locally in a simple process will be, a huge win as far as, lowering the barrier of entry is considered. All the work that we've done on removing MLMD dependency and support for this database layer and stuff, together with SQLite local deployment, I think it should be easily done. We should be able to support a local Model Registry instance easily running like an embedded SQLite and just writing to a local file system, so that you do not have to have.
I mean, I think whatever you use, right? Even if you use what Chanaka was showing, with the scripts you have, that Matthew suggested, we should be able to, push the data back and forth if at all we need it. So let's bring them into the fold. And I think there is a fish pipelines and training folks do think that this is really a requirement from their side. So maybe we can invite them one time and to our community meeting and give us their view of it.
Couple of points that I would add is like just to repeat. I don't think that we need is like if some argument is being put forward that to run Model Registry you need a Kubernetes cluster. I think that is not correct already. So,
Right.
so like we are already kind of like running it with a container. So if we wanted to have a way that we can make sure that at least when it is running in a container, we can have some guarantees running through that one. So there is
Oh
that.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying, just not even in a container, just a
Yeah. Okay.
local process.
Then the problem comes like about how do we package and distribute as a local process, because I would like to avoid doing what the MLMD Python will was doing, that we need to support all the combination of architectures in Python distribution simply
Oh
because.
no, yeah, not loading it within the process, like starting just a simple process locally, like the ML4 server
I
deployment.
I
think
think we are going into solutioning
Yeah,
that.
I just want to set the framing of the context, because indeed it's like I can see argument in both points. You can run it in a container. We can even decide instead that we want to package like a homebrew things, because if the argument is we want to give it to the data scientists and they're using Mac, likely they have a homebrew for package management, and then we can distribute to that, and then the Python client can run that one as like any other binary that you run it. So just to give sort of like the landscape of what is possibility. I'm not arguing for one or the other. I just want to sort of like clear off the confusion that is like to run Model Registry, you don't need to have a Kubernetes cluster already. So there is one. The second one is that since I'm not involved in the discussions, it would be great if either Uramesh or Dheeraj that have this contact, if you can get them to raise a GitHub issues or whatever, so that we can track and get the contact, because I'm happy to hear about this one and I think that is valid. We've been sort of like playing around with the idea before, but if you have a name contact, I haven't heard from him or her, and then sort of like happy to sort of like start to track and do anything to worry as we need.
Yeah, I think I will probably put that one in Dheeraj and Sydney's plate to probably talk to their counterparts in the pipelines team and bring them in here, maybe for a meeting, and and start any issues slash future documents, right, in our GitHub, so that the work that Dheeraj and Sydney started, we can further that, as well as extend it to the local, how we can see.
Right.
It may not be required to, as I see both Matthew and Dheeraj, there are different ways we can say what is local, right? Maybe we can come out of what is, in their view, what is satisfiable for their users, right? Especially if we are catering for the pipelines / experiment tracking team to support this local development, right?
Yeah.
Which is what is the primary users. What are they satisfied with, right? What are their requirements in terms of okay, if you put it in Docker, is that good enough? Yeah, then that's easy. We already done that, right? So if not, then we will think other ways of exposing Python view you were talking about. But those can be implementation details.
That's what I'm saying is like, I'm happy to hear that these conversations are getting apparently more sort of like a concrete, because before it was a nice idea as we wanted to have some like local experience mainly for development. For example, the way that Alessio did the Tilt integration, because that was kind of like when we were speaking about local experience, this is something that we were thinking of more from the developer standpoint. If now we are switching to the user, then naturally I can think about containers. Indeed, that there is the way to start the process. To get the pro and cons is like we need to understand what they define as the local experience or like system requirements. So that could be a way that we can sort of formalize, so that we agree on the definition of the local experience, so that we can do the analysis of all the options and pick the one that seems most sensible. But we need some tracker for it. So
I agree with you, Matthew. Let's see who is the community lead for that, and see we can bring them on one of the community calls on here.
But I'm saying is like, I've been hearing that there are some conversation from somebody from the pipeline. Can we get this person to write the GitHub issue so that we get the correct content? So that will be my suggestion. But happy to follow up in different directions.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So thank you, dear Sydney, for this update as well. I don't have any other items in agenda. Is there any last minute item or somebody that sort of like didn't have the chance to introduce themselves earlier and want to say hi? Or any other items, or otherwise going once, going twice, no resident. So thank you very much for all your contributions and all the presenters. And I will see you, if not in the Tuesday community calls, then in 2 weeks. Thank you so much. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you, bye.